All right, we are videotaping the lecture 2 for the unknown lab. And in review, I did want to make sure that you had done this. You've gotten a check mark on your unknown. You have that stored away. You don't really need that until you do your lab write-up. This is going to be your most important tool today. Bye-bye. Okay. So you'll need this out to make notes on. And I will today go over the cation precipitation part of this. So half of you will be doing cation, half of you will be doing anion. Let's assume today that you're doing cation. All right, you get your unknown. I give you your dropper. There's 2 places in the back to do the flame test. So if we look at the precipitation portion, you look at the cation portion of the lab right here. The first test is the flame test. And you don't have to do these in that order, but if I'm doing the cation, I'm either going to do the flame test or the precipitation test first. Well, if there's only 2 positions to do the flame test, and you start and you look back, there's 2 people there, chances are you need to start here. All the cation section is in pink in the corner, the very far corner. All the anion section is in the purple on the left side. So all the tests for cation are going to be back in that corner. Okay? The flame test, we've gone over it. It is your lab 5. I've given you a place right here to fill in the colors from looking back at lab 5. So I'm hoping you'll do that on your own. Now I'm going to look at the precipitation test. This test is designed to help you discover your cation based on the solubility of your cation with various anions. Use the bureau pipettes labeled with cation and use the same procedure of solubility that you use for precipitation in the precipitation lab. We didn't do the precipitation lab, but that should not be a problem. Also, see the data below to help differentiate between some of the various cations used on specific reactions with chromate and dichromate. So this is just extra material here. So I've already made up my mind. I'm going to do my cation precipitation test. I go in the back. I pick up a tray of the cation reagents. It looks like that. This is the cation reagent tray. I pick up the matching well plate. It looks like this. This is where the reactions will actually take place. Okay? Because it's a little bit easier to see them on a darker table. Your tables are black. My Elmo's white, so I needed to put a brown piece of paper up here. I'll start off by making sure that this thing has been cleaned. That first table will be set up as a wash station. So you take all your stuff, clean it, soap it, dry it, distill water it, dry it again, whatever. Just make sure it's clean. All right? So I'm going to make sure this is clean. I've got it set up like so. I'm going to take my unknown, get some of my unknown out, and I'm going to put 1 drop in each of the wells. That was 2. I should have 12 drops there, because there are how many reagents in this? 12. And these reagents are right here. Oops, sorry, right here. So I'm working those. Okay. Now, which 3 reagents did we say do not precipitate with anything? Anybody tell me that? Yes, ma'am.
potassium, sodium, and ammonium.
Right. Ammonium, potassium, and sodium. Now you'll notice all the cation bottles have them in them. Sodium, potassium, or ammonium. Cross them out and put in just the anion. Br minus, CO3 minus 2, Cl minus. Those are the only things that are going to react. Ronnie, everything good? You good back there, Otis?
Is the camera supposed to be pointing at you or the screen?
The screen.
Point at you.
Yeah.
Just at me? I mean, you can't see the screen?
A little bit now you can see.
Do what? Oh, thank you. Now I'm going to take one by one and I'm going to add them in order. This is my unknown with bromine. This is my unknown with carbonate. This is my unknown with chloride. This is my unknown with chromate. This is my unknown with chromate again. This is my unknown with dichromate. This is my unknown with dichromate again. Notice I'm just putting one small drop and I'm never touching the end of the dropper to the drop. That was hydroxide. This was hydroxide. This is iodide. This is iodide. And this is sulfate. Now I give them time to react. And I look. Oh, sorry. There they are. Okay? There are precipitates with carbonate, the second cell. There's a precipitate with chromate, dichromate, hydroxide, and sulfate. All the rest are no reactions. So I make a thing on my daily log. Here's your daily log. These are the ones I precipitated with. Carbonate, and I wrote the color, white. Chromate, yellow. Dichromate, yellow-orange. That should be a little bit more orange. Hydroxide, white. Sulfate, white. Those are the 5 things that my unknown, my X, reacted with and got a reaction. Okay, so my unknown reacted with carbonate. Remember the down arrow means? It reacted with chromate. It reacted with dichromate. It reacted with hydroxide. And it reacted with sulfate. And nothing else. So our task now is to figure out from this chart which ones just precipitated with those things. So I want you to write this down. This is probably the most important thing on this chart. Right here, I want you to write down anything other than an S is a possible precipitate. And I abbreviate precipitate PPT with a down arrow. Anything other than an S is a possible precipitate. It's never easy.
So what are you supposed
So here's what we do. We look across this to carbonate. And we go down this way and we look over at the things that we highlighted in yellow. Is it possible for my unknown to be aluminum?
No.
Is that an S? Is that an S? Then it's possible. Is it possible for my unknown to be ammonium? No. Is it possible for my unknown to be barium? Yes, it's an I. Calcium, I. Copper, I. Iron 3, dash. Lead, I. Lithium, P. So I write down all of these that have something other than an S. And here they are. Right there. Then I go to chromate. I look at chromate. I write down all the ones here that react with chromate. Barium, yes. Calcium. Oh, look, we eliminated calcium. So calcium's not my unknown. So you'll notice this list here doesn't contain calcium, so I eliminated it. I keep going down the list. These are D's, aren't they? Or P, D's or P. They react anyway. Copper and iron do. Lead, yeah. Oh, look at lithium. Lithium does not react with my unknown. So I eliminate lithium. Okay? When I'm finished, I now have this list, which is shorter than this list. Then I go to dichromate. That pretty much is the same. Okay? Now, look at hydroxide right here. Hydroxide, don't trust it. It doesn't work. Bye-bye. Hydroxide doesn't work. Put not reliable. Put not reliable for hydroxide. So I sort of crossed hydroxide out of the list. It's just like a big question mark. It's reacting with things it shouldn't, so I don't want to give you bad data. I know this. We just had a small accident, not to worry.
Redo this again, maybe?
No worries.
I was hoping on getting some advertisers here, you know, for the YouTube. Then they could start paying me royalties for this, but I don't know about that now. All right. So, I do know this. We're back. I do know this. Barium is insoluble in our hydroxide. So I would put an I there for sure. So I make a list for that. I make a list for sulfate. There's sulfate. Now I've come to this right here. I've narrowed my unknown down to 5 cations. That's when I look at this chart. Right here. What's the only one in that chart? And we notice, we look here. We got yellows and whites, right? So let's take our first one. What's the first possibility of those 5? Barium. If I have barium, barium should be yellow in chromate. And it should be yellow with white in dichromate. Well, they're almost identical, but they are yellow. Now, what I want you to think about here is, that's dichromate there. See, it's sort of not as bright. That's this one right here. Now, that, I want you to think about something. If I took a clear glass of water and I mixed with it orange Kool-Aid, what color would the resulting solution be? Orange, right? If I mixed orange liquid with clear, it's going to be orange. So you have to be careful. If the liquid has already got a color, of what color the precipitant really is. That is orange with a white precipitate in it, which matches this. It's hard to see, but it does. All right, and then it's white and white here. So barium's still a possibility, isn't it? All right, what else? What's the next one? Lead. Look at lead. Yellow, yellow. Could be, couldn't it? So lead's still a possibility. What's the next one? Mercury. What color is mercury in chromate? Do you see blood red right in there? No. And in dichromate, it doesn't precipitate. Well, guess what? Mercury's not in there, is it? My unknown is not mercury. So I can eliminate that. What's the next one? Silver. Silver is going to be dark brown and dark brown. See a dark brown? Silver has been eliminated. What's left? Strontium, and strontium's not here. So, I have left barium, lead, and strontium is my unknown, right? Okay. Now, the flame test is clear. I go in the back and I do the flame test. So I write down another test, flame test. I set it up, get my unknown. You've done the flame test, so you know you heat the metal wire up, you clear it off with acid, you heat it up again, you put a drop of your unknown on it, and you drop it, the wire on the flame, and you watch the very first color that comes off. Your flame test is positive for yellow-green. Now, if you look at your chart above for the flame test, you'll see that barium is yellow-green. You'll also see that strontium is red, and flame for lead, a flame for lead has nothing. There's no flame for lead. So you've eliminated lead because you had a flame, and you told me it was barium because it was yellow-green because it wasn't red. Now, that's only 2 tests. Just for the sake of doing a test, you do an iron nickel test to make sure it wasn't one of those. It's negative. There are your 3 tests. You can write on the back of your card, those were your 3 tests and why you think your unknown is barium, and you put BA underneath the cation for trial 1. Then you turn everything over into a new leaf and you go to the anion test. You do the same thing for the anion. When you get that, that's when you write it down and bring me the card. Any questions? Okay. We'll be ready to start the unknown lab tomorrow. Okay, and I may wind up extending it a little longer because I found out over the weekend that I have to be an official at the state track meet, which is on Friday and Saturday. So I may not be here Friday, so I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but we'll figure it out. Okay?
That's the devil's phone. I'm done messing with